What's up, you guys? It's Sir Scrub here, bringing you some more Scrub Tier Yu-Gi-Oh! And in today's video, I'm going to be bringing to you guys a market watch with my very good friends, Dank Chaos from Team Chaos Stream and Christian the HavreCard Man. How are you guys doing today?
Chilling, my guy.
Yeah, dudes. So we're going to jump into today's market watch. Let me remember who's up first. I believe, Christian, you had a particular link monster you wanted to talk about.
Yes, so first up here, I'm going to be talking about the good old Nightmare Griffin boy. Everybody loves the Nightmare package, but nobody likes to run Griffin. And yeah, I mean, there's obviously better Link 4s out there for most strategies, but there are really fun ways to actually abuse Nightmare Griffin to the point where it becomes, honestly, like if you set it up just right, it's even better than Appaloosa. And that's the thing I love about this card is it's just so ridiculous. And for its price point right now on TCG Player, it is only 49 cents with 78-cent shipping.
Yeah, for the reprint.
$100 card. Yeah, and I mean, like, just the power of this card. So obviously, when it's like the Nightmare effect, the discarding effect is not like the biggest part of this. I mean, yeah, discarding a card to be able to set a spell or trap from your graveyard is good for like more grindy decks or just stuff that's playing a lot of spells and traps like oh my god, I'm blanking. Endymion, there we go. Endymion loves to play this.
I found success with this in Zombies.
Love it. Zombies, yeah, like resetting a Super Poly or something like that, or a Zombie
just getting
world. Like
getting your Zombie World back and getting a Mizuki out of the hand all in the same time. It's just really nice.
Yep. And like, so obviously you can't activate it the same turn you set it, but that doesn't really matter too much. You're resetting your resources, and and then if it's co-linked, you can draw a card. Which if you set this upright, it will be co-linked, so you will get the extra draw to be able to dig deeper into your deck and all that. The big part, though, is that special summon monsters in the field cannot activate their effects unless they are linked.
So it's literally a skill drain.
Yeah, if you set up your board just right, where only your monsters are linked by your arrows, and you set this up turn 1, your opponent is going to struggle being able to set up a board, especially in Master Rule 5, that people aren't playing as many links now, so you're oriented towards a lot more Synchro and Fusion and Exceeds decks that are focused on just throwing those all in the main monster zone without link arrows pointing to them. So now any effects they have that are activated effects, they can no longer use. Just because they don't have anything to point to them. I mean, like, you might get the occasional Fusion deck, like running like Cross Sheep or Synchro Spam decks throwing in Needle Fiber and stuff like that. But even then, that limits what their monsters can actually do. And for me, I love playing this card in Endymion because I'll set up a Selene in my extra monster zone. I'll have this right below the Selene in the middle, and then I'll have an Endymion to the left or right of it. So that way you establish this lock where they can't attack Selene. You have an Endymion with a spell or trap negate. You have a Nightmare Griffin that stops your opponent from being able to activate special summon monsters effects unless they're linked. And then you still have a zone open for Selene, so you can get like disruption with stuff like your reflection or whatever else you can bring out with her. So like just setups like with Nightmare Griffin, it's a little bit more of you have to have like the mindset for it and be ready for the setup. But if you have the strategy that can play it, Nightmare Griffin is a super deadly card.
Oh yeah, super high impact.
And for being so generic to summon, it's only 2 monsters with different names, or
exactly.
2+ monsters for like 4. It's super easy.
And not to mention, it's also a 2,500 body.
Yep.
Which is a pretty solid attack value.
And of course, if you bring this out on your opponent's turn with an IP Masquerena, I mean, you're giving it extra protection, making sure that it's gonna do what it's supposed to do and have less chance of being destroyed.
I didn't even think of that. That's interesting. Yep. That's a good way to look at it. So moving on here, the next card you had on your list was Kismet Yata.
Okay, so this guy honestly is my favorite of the Gizmecs, and I see him as being highly underrated. Obviously, Kismet Orochi's really good, and he's played in a lot of decks like Orcus and things like that. But the thing about Kismet Yata is there are so many decks that could easily abuse an extra normal summon, and the biggest thing of this that comes to mind, okay, so first off, you've got a level 5 machine. So you've got synergies right there and a light monster, so you can do stuff with that, obviously. So just to special summon this guy, you just have to tribute 1 normal summon monster. So automatically, Machinas hugely get support from this card. Because say you normal summon a Machina Gear Frame, you get your search, you use your Kismet Yata to tribute it, and if you use your Gear Frame to search for another normal summon, you can use your Kismet Yata to get a second normal summon into whatever you want. So, like, honestly, it could be like a 2 card. If you have Machina Gear Frame and a Kismet Yata, you can go into like different Exceeds, different whole bunch of different plays, or get extra surges if you want to, because it's actually not a hard once per turn. It's not even a once per turn at all on Immaculate Gear Frame, come to think of it. So, I mean, if you can have 2 gear frames and a Yata, you can get double search, or, just getting bonuses, because you also want to send stuff to the graveyard with Machinas. Heroes can also use this. Like, basically, if you have a deck that wants to play more than one normal summon, or that can benefit off of more than one normal summon, Kismet Yata is a perfect way to do it. It's because it helps you, once again, set up that graveyard, get the extra normal summons, so you can get extra effects and all that. It's just an insane card, and I think a really undervalued card, once again, for only a 28-cent price point and a 78-cent shipping. It's a really valuable card, and kind of an underrated one from Chaos Impact, if I'm being 100% honest.
You know, the first thing that pops up to me when I look at this card and I read its effects is Invoked. You normal summon your Alistair, get your search, then you can send it to the graveyard, summon this thing, and then normal summon again and go off of whatever the rest of your deck is supposed to. And it's a light monster for you to be able to make Mechaba with it.
Exactly. The synergies with this card are like endless. It's a matter of being able to put these pieces together and actually realize where these things work together.
Yeah, I think this card is like just waiting on that one right deck that can just break this card wide open.
Yeah, well, you think about it too. Cyber Dragons can even use this card because it's another machine body. If you can get a core summon, you can summon whatever you need to.
Oh wow!
Get extra search like that too.
You can search your player plant, put your core in the graveyard, and get a level 5 light machine on field to go into Nova.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's super synergistic. I love it.
Yeah, it's a really good card. I think a lot of people should experiment around more, and especially if you're a budget player, this is definitely really good for budget players.
Yep. Exactly. It's a beautiful card.
So on to the next budget card. This is one that took me back when you first said this. Hop Ear Squadron.
Okay, so we've been seeing a lot of needle fiber plays lately. Obviously, everyone's been like super obsessed with needle fiber. When you kind of like take a second to look at it, you could almost consider this guy as a main deck needle fiber that is super budget. And not so much for like being able to pull a tuner out of the deck. Obviously, it's during your opponent's main phase to be able to get that synchro summon, because you just target a monster you control, summon this guy, and then immediately synchro summon one monster using this card and the other card you targeted. So if you set up like I think it's a level 4, because I'm pretty sure Desert Locust is a level 6, correct?
I'm pretty sure.
So yeah, if you set up a level 4 on your field, which a lot of decks play, you can easily throw this out to go into your level 6 Desert Locust, make your opponent discard a card, and then if you have another level 2 on your field, if you like actually had that much setup, you can go straight into a level 8. Say if you have Borreload Savage or like a Drago Berserker of the Tenyi, a really good synchro. There's a whole bunch of level 8 targets you can easily go into. There's so many different synchro plays you can play on your opponent's turn, and just being able to spring this out on them as a surprise like that, especially if it's got a trigger effect that happens when the synchro monster you're summoning hits the field, you can get extra boosts off of that. I think it's just a really good surprise card, something that really catches your opponent off guard. Not only that, it is also a level 2 tuner, so it is a needle fiber target both to summon and to special summon out of the deck. So it has extra synergies. It can be really valuable, and especially with Mare Phase coming out, this is a beast monster, so this could easily synergize very well with that deck. If you're looking to play a more rogue strategy and you just love the Mare Phase archetype in general. There's so many different places where this card could be very well applicable, because level adjustment is so easy nowadays in the current metagame, and there's just so many different ways to use and abuse this card.
Yeah, really fantastic card all the way around. So moving from cards that you actively abuse to make things, let's talk about a card that you can turbo into. The Arrival Cyberse at Ignister is a basically generic Link 6 monster who has this little forward sentence in his effect that reads, unaffected by other cards' effects. And I don't think a lot of people have given this card the respect it's deserved. We're talking about a completely generic, more than at minimum 3k beat stick that is completely immune to anything your opponent tries to do to it. That can also summon a token for free by popping another monster on the field. So you can break your opponent's board. They can't really out the card. It's not like they can negate it or anything. And it extends your plays by giving you another monster for you to be able to maybe recoup a little bit of the card advantage you lost, because this is a Link 6 monster.
So pretty much the only card that can really out this is going to be a Kaiju. I mean, there's so many different decks it can splash into, because it doesn't even say Cybers. That is the big thing about Ignisters, is they're usually Cybers limited.
Nope, this card is completely generic. 3+ monsters with different attributes. It might as well not have a summoning requirement. So yeah, they're gonna have to use things like Evenly Matched, Herald of the Abyss, and like Kaiju, stuff that either affects you as a player directly or bypasses or is not a card effect. Are the only real ways to get around this card. Now, it's not something you're going to be able to pull out all the time, because it is a Link 6 monster. It does take a lot of resources to go into. But if you're able to put it on board, it's probably going to stick, and it's probably going to make an impact on the game.
And let me tell you, this does boost so many rogue strategies. Like, I'm already fangirling over this in my Prank Kids deck. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and for people who think Access Code Talker is a good card, this is Access Code Talker, but bigger.
Exactly.
And I feel like it's definitely being slept on in the community. On to another card that is super slept on is Parallel Exceed. Everybody's talking about this in Salamangreats. Oh, Salamangreats have a free Abyss Dweller. Well, it's not the only deck that has a free Abyss Dweller. Anytime you Link summon, it doesn't even have to be a Cyberse Link monster. Just anytime you Link summon, you get a free rank 4 just for playing the game.
Yeah.
It's literally a +1 on summon, and it allows you to go into the rank 4 of your choose. So you could have Abyss Dweller, you can go into Tornado Dragon, it could be a 1-card Utopia double for the OTK. And it just rewards you just for playing the game. And especially at like $1.25, I just don't think people are giving this card the respect it deserves. So moving on from that, from Parallel Exceed, probably one of the best underrated cards out of Eternity Code. We have Borreload Dragon, which is surprisingly cheap. I remember when this card was like $25, $30 a copy, but now you can get the commons for like $1.50. And let's not forget, it also has an ultra rare alternate art out of Dual Power, which is pretty cool, sitting at $2. I think this is a really good penny stonk, because I just feel like alternate arts are one of those cards that just retain value over time. But then, of course, you have the secret rare sitting at $6 roughly a piece. So it's one of those good generic cards that finds its way into a lot of extra decks that I think is at a pretty cheap point for budget players to be able to pick up easily, especially the cheaper copies.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Borreload can non-targeting steal a card, so
if you're having problems with the big beat sticks of the format, you can just Borreload steal it.
exactly.
Things like Avramax and the Blackluster Soldier Link and stuff like that. Just big beater monsters.
They can't be targeted or destroyed. You can just steal it.
It's a perfect out to really hard to deal with cards.
And it's a good way to use for chain blocking too, since you can use its 500 attack decrease as,
and they can't respond to it,
and then nothing can respond to it. So it's like kind of a pseudo super poly in that regard for not having anybody be able to respond to that effect.
Yeah, and that's an effect that a lot of people don't think about. So like your Ultimate Falcons or your Ultimate Conductor Tyrannos that are just a little bit too big to beat over. Borreload Dragon can give you that way of saying, let's bring you down to size there, buddy.
Pretty much.
And then the last card I have on my list is Ghost Bell in Haunted Mansion. I think everybody and their mother gets wrecked by Call by the Grave every now and again. And
Every day.
I don't think having Call by the Grave insurance is a bad strategy, especially in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! So when you look at this card, you're looking at $15-16 for the secret rare, but you're looking at $1 for the Dupo version and another $1 for the Dual Devastator alternate art. So I think this card is a card that a lot of people should experiment around with more. I know I've been playing it in Zombies and stuff like that, but also like in Orcust, because, you know, if they call by the grave your Nightmare, you're pretty screwed.
Well, the nice thing about this card, too, is that it can even stop your opponent from extending. Like, if you look at stuff like Rockets, they've got their Boot Sector launch that allows them to special summon from the graveyard, slap down the Ghost Bone Haunted Mansion, they don't get that graveyard special summon, or, like, just any sort of extender like that that special summons back, or...
Your opponent tries to get their Eldritch out of the graveyard back into the hand, you can just bail it and say no.
Yep. Or you can stop Invoked from this, because it stops from banishing a card from the graveyard, so if they try to banish their Alistair Engrave, just counter that, or anything else from graveyard for their invocation. You can negate a Fusion Summon, which is insane.
Yeah.
Orchid can get hit by this card, because anytime they try to banish, you can just Ghost Spell it.
Yep. Or you can just shut down the skeleton and completely wreck their whole board.
That too.
So yeah, Ghost Bell is a card I feel like is way too slept on for what it does and the niche that it can play. Now, I understand that sometimes finding room for this 3 of is probably what holds this card back. The fact that it takes up deck space away from engine pieces and other more applicable negates. But I feel like it's a tech card that more people should come to experiment with.
For sure.
I very much agree with that. I mean, she does stop a lot of things also. I believe that Ghost Bell is a solid side deck option, even if they don't throw it in the main deck.
Yeah, because everybody's playing DD Crow these days, too.
Yeah, fair enough.
Especially with Eldritch running around, I mean...
Yeah. I feel like Bell is way too slept on. And speaking of slept on cards, Dank, you wanted to talk about Arch Nemesis Eska Toast?
Yeah, so Arch Nemesis... Arch Nemesis Eska Toast is a lovely level 11 light beat stick that is 3,000... First off, it's searchable by Melody of Awakening Dragon. Second off, it can't be... It is a inherit special summon, so only certain Psalms can actually hit it. It's weird interaction.
Yeah, it's not an effect, so it can't be negated by your typical negating monsters. Yeah,
exactly. So the way you summon it is by banishing 3 monsters with different types from your from your graveyard and or face on your field. Also, this card can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, by card effect. But you declare 1 monster on the field, destroy all. Pretty much, it's got a
Tribe Infecting Virus.
Tribe Infecting Virus. Yeah, it's got a Tribe Infecting Virus effect, where it stops the opponent from being able to special summon monsters of that type. But it's until the next turn. So it's until the end of your opponent's next turn.
So it can completely lock them out. Like if they're playing Rockets, you can just say, you just can't summon dragons.
Yeah.
Good luck.
You can pick dragons, you can pick... I mean, technically, you control a dragon, and because Eska Toast wasn't destroyed, you can technically go first with this card if you're going up against a dragon deck. You can go first with it, as long as... Even Kaijus, especially with Kaijus, because if you're going second with Kaijus, you can tribute their monsters, you can send your Kaijus to grave however you want, either Slumber or whatever the heck, and then banish those types of Kaijus from your graveyard for free. And then summon them out and just blow board.
Yeah, and this can lock out just a lot of decks. I mean, think about like going against Adamancipators. If you just call Rock and lock them out for a turn, not to mention break their board.
Oh, easy.
And then, you know, against stuff like Orcust, you can call Machines. Against like Salads, you could just call Cyburst. I think this is a really underrated card, especially for only $8.
Sorry about that. My dog's having a...
Yeah, they do that from time to time.
Yeah, he's having hiccups. It's all right.
And then...
All right, you off the couch then. Go do that over there.
And then the last card I think we have on our list is Har, Generator Boss of Storms.
All right, so the whole thing about Generator Boss of Storms is generators have had a they really haven't done much since they came out. They've maybe seen some local play, maybe a regional if you're lucky. But this card right here is a solid boss monster for the deck because 1, field spell is extremely free. you have at least 8 ways to get the field spell on field between Demise of the Land, Metaverse, and the boss fight. Not to mention you can have terraforming and 3 of the field spell themselves. But when you summon Har, so if you, let's say you activate, let's say you're going through your generator plays. Normally, you'd want to summon the level 4 generator that can tag out on your opponent's turn by using the token. Then you tag out the token for Har during an effect where they activate something like Pot of Avarice or Card of Demise, something like that, where they're adding cards to their hand. Because on summon of Har, by the summon of Har, through the chain order, he then gets to rip a card out of your opponent's hand. It's a monster, so he forces your opponent to send a monster from their hand or field to the graveyard, so it minuses your opponent by 1.
Which is crazy.
Then, he's also a big fat negate.
Yeah.
Attributes to generator tokens to negate into any card effect.
So it can also allow you to interrupt your opponent's plays as well as disrupt their hand and stuff.
Oh, easily. It's kind of like a pseudo Dark Law, where instead of banishing, it can at least negate.
Yeah, it has that spell speed 2 interruption.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right.
The funny thing
gentlemen.
is, it can actually negate its own effect.
Which
Sorry.
is funny.
Go ahead.
Is there anything else we need to cover, gentlemen?
I think I am all set.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
All right, who wants to do the outro?
I'll do that since I didn't do much in the video.
Go for
all right.
it.
Don't forget, guys, subscribe to everyone in the description. Definitely leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And tell us what you think of the video and what choices you would make for your underrated cards in the comments below. Have a good one, guys.
Peace.
We don't play good decks, we play bad decks well. Scrubs by choice, in this abyss we dwell.